Okay.
So I want to welcome everyone to the CR60 Affinity Designer for Adobe Illustrator users. Since you're all Creatives Roundtable members, I'm going to skip the usual introduction. So I just want to let you know that we have some great upcoming events. On October 21st, we have Profit First for small businesses. On November 11th, we have How to Implement Change to Survive and Succeed. On December 3rd, we have The Anatomy of a Winning Proposal. On January 20th, we have Ways of Getting Ideas Rolling for Creative Projects. And on February 15th, we have How to Win the Creative Entrepreneur Game. February is Michael Janda. January is Jim Krause. December is Elise Spenin. And I don't remember. Susan Vogel is November, and Ian Price Murphy is October. So it should be fun. And I don't know if everybody knows Karla. She's a member of the Creatives Roundtable. And I'll let you do a little introduction as you get started. And I'm going to mute myself.
Of course. Thank you, Nancy. Hi, everyone. I'm Karla Pámanes. I'm a brand designer. I work mostly with women entrepreneurs. That's who's mostly my audience is, but I also help other brands as a freelance thing to help them up level their brand. I have an introduction. Let me share my screen. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm going to be talking about Affinity Designer and how I got to learn about the software and why I love it so much, and probably you're going to love it too. Can you see my screen? I think, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so here's again, this is me, Karla Pámanes. Here's a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Torreon, Coahuila, Mexico. So it's here, this little dot, put a heart in there to know where it is. So we're like 6 hours from the border. And I went to school here in El Paso. So we just drove all the way here, like 9 hours to get there. And that's little me. I'm a twin. Oh, spoiler. No, it was coming here. I live in Farmington, Connecticut with my husband and best friend, Angel, and our pizza obsessed son, Lennon. Here we are, not in Farmington. I'm a 100% cat lady. I'm okay with dogs, but like, I don't know, like I see a cat and it just melts my heart. I'm a twin. This is my sister, Maria. This is me. I love carbs in all its shapes and forms, like all the bread, all the sugar. So bad. So I'm here because Nancy invited me to talk about Affinity Designer. So I'm going to be talking about Affinity Designer for Adobe Illustrator users. So before I start, I want to give the story of how I came to learn about Affinity Designer. I work at this company called Scripps Networks Interactive in Knoxville, Tennessee. I interned for them one summer and fell in love with the South, like coming like from the desert and going to even more desert in Texas. I fell in love like with trees, like with green trees. And the company was amazing. The culture was so great. So after I graduated, I asked them for an opportunity, and they said yes, like, and they opened an opportunity, and it was not even that easy because I had to be sponsored with a visa. So if anything I've learned in life, it has been like, if you ask, just ask and you shall receive, you might receive. So it was the same with the internship. Like, I asked for the internship, they gave me the internship. I asked for the job, they gave me the job. So I was there for, I was like, well, maybe I'll be a couple of years here to gain some experience. Those couple of years turned out to be 10 until they said that the company was going to be acquired by Discovery. So when they come and it's like, Discovery acquired the company. I forgot to mention about what type of company it is. So, but it's a media company. They own cable network TV channels. So the headquarters were there, and like really everything started with creating just one network channel, HGTV, and it just grew from there. So I had to change my own business card to now I was going to be a part of Discovery, and that only lasted for 8 months before we were all laid off. So during that time, like, of course, I used, this was like my first office, and like I love Illustrator. They knew like I was an Illustrator girl. Like I just love Illustrator so much. I even have an Illustrator preload. And when we were laid off, this is Jim Peterson. He was my coworker and friend, and he's the techie guy. He's like, any update, like anytime like Steve Jobs was on, he had like on in his computer, he will tell us all the updates on all tech stuff and like software. Like he's like, oh, this is a new thing. So when we're gonna be without a job, it's like, what are we gonna do about software? Because it was so nice that it was, you know, provided for us. And he mentioned me about Affinity Designer. He said like, I have checked a couple different ones, and he said like, Affinity looks like a really great software. I think I'm gonna check it out. So I'm like, if Jim says it's good, probably it's good. So I went and checked that out. So at that time, I had to change the price here because I'm in Mexico and we couldn't figure out how to not show in pesos. So I just tweak it here so you can see the page of Affinity Designer. What grabbed me the first about Affinity was like no subscription. And if he said like it was amazing, I'm like, okay, let's just check it out. So they have a free trial and I check it and I loved it. At that time it was $34.99. So that was like 2 years ago. So if you are like if you're considering of maybe trying out, might be the best time because it seems like it's gonna start getting higher as time goes. They also have an iPad version. I don't have the iPad version. So let's go to Affinity Designer. I thought like maybe I'll continue here in the software. I wonder, can you see this strip of all of you? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because just to make sure that I can move things around so you can, so we can see everything.
Yep, we see the whole screen, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm wondering, that's why Ingrid's here to me so I can see the chat. But I wonder what Adobe software you use the most. So if you can add in the chat, if it's like Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop. Okay. InDesign, Illustrator. Illustrator most, InDesign, and Photoshop. Yeah. So Illustrator is like, at least what I know, most of the designers who like use the most. So this is Affinity Designer, and it's like what will be equivalent to Adobe Illustrator. And I even have all the rest of the software here. They're even like next to my Creative Cloud. So Affinity Designer is equivalent to Illustrator. Affinity Publisher is equivalent to Adobe InDesign, and then Affinity Photo will be the equivalent for Photoshop. I had been able to get not use Adobe for a while until like one of my clients really need me to use Adobe fonts. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go get cloud. But I really feel like for me, the future will be just Affinity, and I'll show you why. So I'm curious, have you ever used other design software other than Adobe? I'll open the chat again. Okay. Oh, Quark Express. Oh, I've never heard about that one. Oh no, yes, I've heard about Quark. So Ingrid, you learned something else too in school, right? Other software?
Yeah, Corel.
Corel. I didn't know that Corel is still like alive. I've heard about it. Have Quark, but didn't realize he was still around. Yep. So I've never used Quark. Like for me, coming in college, I started college in 2003. So yes, I think, yes. And Illustrator was, sorry, Adobe was the only software that they gave us. So I'm here to show you like 3 reasons why you might want to switch from Illustrator to Designer, or at least give it a try. So number one, it saves you a ton of money. I think in the other screen that I show you, that the price on Affinity Designer is a $54.99 one-time payment versus Adobe. If you only have Illustrator, it's $20.99 to rent it, so you don't own it. So it's really cool. Like you have the software like it used to be before, right? With Adobe, you have free updates, and I think that part itself is really great. I know most of us in the industry, we might be required to have an Illustrator, but for example, me, or like upcoming students who might not be able to pay this this price, monthly pricing, I think like it's really good that there's an alternative that it's like as good as, in my opinion, as good as an Illustrator, so they can have professional software. Reason number two, it has all the features we need for creating simple vector graphics and logo designs. And this is like specifically for the reasons why I use Illustrator. It has all the capabilities that I really need. So it's not like it's lacking one thing or the other. It also talks to each other. So I can just copy a vector graphic from Illustrator and bring it in. I can even open Illustrator files in Affinity Designer. It opens like PDFs, it opens EPSs, SVGs. So like you can open files that were created in Illustrator and bring them to Affinity Designer. The only thing that doesn't happen is the other way around. You cannot save an Affinity Designer file and save it as an Illustrator file. You can though save it as a PSD. That is something that it's possible. So, but it will convert into raster. Mm-hmm.
Can you save it as an EPS?
You can save it as a EPS. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that way you can open it in Illustrator. Mm-hmm. Reason number three, it's great for exporting capabilities. And I have an example of that. Like for me, that's like the biggest reason why this software is so worth it. I learned this software by just exploring it and like Googling things. But I learned that it had, like you see here in the top, it says designer persona. So it has like this personas. And the next one, it's called pixel persona. So it means like here you can edit. If you use Photoshop and Illustrator at the same time, I personally don't, but you have like some raster tools that you can use right in there just by changing the persona. But my favorite persona, well, next to designer persona, it's export persona. So here, you are able to, so for example, I am here, what are layers? I'm gonna focus here on the layers panel. What are layers in designer? When we move to in design persona, when we move to export persona, they are called slices. So if we pull this down, it gives you all the capabilities to export that specific artboard. So you can export a PNG. By default, it gives you a PNG, but you have all these different options. So like you can export this as a JPEG, as a SVG. Oops. Let's see. An EPS. There are tons of stuff in here that like it has so many great capabilities. So PDF, and here it is, like you can export it as a PSD as well. So the beauty of it too is that you can save all this as a preset and make all your layers export that same way. So for me, for logo design, it's amazing because like, I know Nancy once mentioned she uses a software that helps export your logos, but it's nice that this software, it includes this. So I'm gonna show an example of the logo production of this, the production of this whole brand brand identity, like just logo and graphic files. By naming them all how I want them to be exported, I have a preset. When you go to the export persona, and this is my preset. It's called logo, and I give my clients a PNG, a JPEG, and an EPS, and all of them have that because I use just the same preset. And then by just clicking this button, export slices, it creates, gosh, I don't even know how many files, like tons, like all the different files that you need by just clicking once, and you have all your files ready. For me, this capability is worth its price. Like it makes my work so much easier. I just have to make sure like whatever I label my artboard, it's well labeled because it's gonna create like all the different files by the same name. So for me, this is like my favorite feature. Once I learned it, I'm like, this is amazing. And I remember like at my agency job, everybody hated like logo production. And I'm like, wait a second, let me show you about this software. And like, it just makes everything so easy. So I know I said like only 3, but I do have bonus reasons. I like, I'll go back to the designer persona. I really like Affinity Designer as a company. I think, it's Affinity, not Affinity Designer, because it's actually Affinity by Serif. I really like Affinity as a company. For the very the short 2 years that I've known this company, they have been really amazing. During the pandemic, they offer 50% off to help people alleviate like with the circumstances. So they offer their software for many months, 50% off, and they extended their 15-day trial to 90-day trial for those who were not ready to buy a $25 software. And they did it again because the pandemic kept going. So they did it one more time. I've had just great experience with them, like asking them things as I'm starting to mentor other aspiring designers. I want them to learn Affinity Designer because I know one of the biggest struggles for people who want to learn design, it's the cost of software. So I really love that Affinity has created a quality product at a very affordable price. So I have reached to them, and I like asked them if they can help my students, and they're like, well, I can give them a 30-day trial. So they give me a 30-day trial. They also give me like a discount for my students' software. So they get like, they save like $20 by using like a student account. So I really, really like them as a company. I really believe on what they're doing. So I think like that's really good, like to stand behind a company's mission. But I have more bonus reasons why I love Affinity Designer. It has a very, I had to write a super cool shape tool because it's really cool. And I'm gonna show you after I finish all these points. I find the precision, it's way better than Illustrator. Like, I don't know if it happens to you, but like when you move like something in Illustrator, you might just want to move it a little and it moves a lot. And for me, it has to, I think like I have to zoom in so closely to just move a little bit. Like, I think the precision is great in this software. It's more intuitive. It's really easy to use. Like Ingrid, my niece, who's just started working with me, like I just gave her the software. I'm like, just figure it out, and she just figured it out. Like it like seems like very intuitive to use, and barely crashes. So I recently saw a post on one member asking about like, is your Illustrator crashing so much like mine is? So it really barely crashes. So that's really cool. So I want to show you about the super cool shape tool by I'm gonna make an artboard in here. So it's really cool that you can see how I use the software. So just like in Illustrator, we have artboards, and here we have the transform tool in here. I wanna mention something about the history. It has all the history like of it goes like 8,000 steps back. Like I don't think someone will ever want to go 8,000 steps back, but that's really cool. Like knowing that I know Illustrator has a cap until how far you can go back. So they do have like a great history of control disease. So I want to show you real quick the shapes tools. So like we have like in Illustrator, the rectangle tool, the circle, the ellipse tool, the rounded, but they have like the star tool that it brings up like all these other pre-made shapes, which I think it's really cool. Like for example, I'm going to try this donut tool, and I am going to just make a color, and it has like these red notes. So to create like custom, where you can like play with the shape itself. And then like if you're doing graphs, this is really cool as well. And also here on the top where we see the gear, there are also presets of that same shape and all the possibilities how this shape can be like modified. For me, like this is so fun. I like, even my son comes here and plays. Like I give him the shapes and he comes and plays with the shapes. So
can you enter in numbers like you can do in Illustrator to make a chart and a graph, and or is this just all guesstimating?
That's a great question. I don't know, because I really haven't even used that in Illustrator. So I'm not sure, Nancy. That's a great question, because I've never made charts in Illustrator. So I was gonna use this other tool, this cut tool. So like in Illustrator, like if we want to do this kind of shape, we will have to draw it or figure it out. But here, like we have all these capabilities of playing with it and make it like different. And again, here we have all the presets on how like this cog tool can look like and be shaped into different things. So it really saves time like to creating like icons or graphics. And it's just really fun to come and play with it. I'll try another shape tool. Oh no, it's not copy me. Oh, yeah, I was not clicking on, because I have my cursor to be like so big so people can see it. I was not clicking the right thing.
I saw it has a heart. I always use hearts, and I'm always like searching back in my vectors.
Yeah, we have hearts, Amy.
That's great.
I wonder if why it looks that ugly. I don't know, but you can change it. I think yeah, that's the only capability. I always like my hearts like this. But you can play with it. One thing to know, it's like with these shapes that have those red dots, whenever we are like exporting it, like to make them not like, if I like this heart to how can I say, to convert it into like a, let me see if I explain myself. If we go to layers, convert the curves, yeah. So that's what I was saying. Like to release it from its capability to do whatever, well, you'll have to convert it to curves, just like we do with text. Yeah, so it's like a live shape, like it's live text, but like we'll have to export it into curves. So yeah, it has a heart. It has like many different things. I really like the arrows as well, because it gives you the oh, let me tell you another thing that I love, that it just happened here. The artboard is constrained together. Like, so like it has like this kind of frame and things like are behind the artboard, not like in Illustrator that they're on top. And like if things bleed, I always like make squares like to hide them, to make sure that they don't distract me. So I really like this thing. I'm not sure, because I'm not really up to date to updates about Illustrator, but artboards can change color as well. Like the background, instead of making a square and sending it to the back, you can change you can change it as in here. I really love their color wheel as well. And they have so many like different ways for color. They have like swatches, many like different ways to.
Can you import the Pantone library?
I think you can, yes. So add color. Let me go to the swatches because they do have fonts. Yeah, so you can import a palette here. Yeah. I like that. I know Illustrator has so many ways also for color, but like you can create a palette from based on your document, and if you have an image, it creates an image palette based on the image you bring in. I personally love the color wheel. I think like it's really cool. So I was gonna finish showing you the arrow and its possibilities. Like it has all these different ways to create an arrow. And then like if you double click on it, you can modify all those red nodes. So I will say that the shapes is my second favorite thing of the tools in itself.
Can you also show when you had those logos, you had all those different artboards, how did you gather all those artboards together, or how do you set that up?
So the way that I export my logos, start to produce my logos, I start, I'm just gonna move it here. Like, this is a special brand. I never give like my clients so many color options, but this is like a very colorful brand. So I really just start with one and label it what it is. And then they have a Command J that means duplicating it. And then it will, like, it copied the movement that I did. And if I do Command J, it does the same repeat.
Oh, very cool.
So I would do like, something like this. Just start placing it right where I want it, and then just have duplicates of it. And then I would just go and it's just the same like Illustrator where you hit I for the eyedropper. Like many of the shortcuts are the same. So I come here and I just change the colors and then make sure that I also change them in the layers.
So that background is actually just a background, and these are your pages or your artboards that you're creating.
Yes, these are artboards.
Okay.
So just like in Illustrator, they're artboards. Here it has a like a transparent background. Just like Illustrator, you can choose to like have. I like to work with the backgrounds in white, like when I'm designing, but like when I'm exporting, especially when I export white logos, I want to make sure that they're in there. So this is how I would like export all my files. So I will just start with one and then like start making duplicates and just changing the name. And when I'm ready to, when I'm done with all the files, I go to the export persona and tell it I want, I have built presets in here. My logo preset, it's like those three different PNG, JPEG, high quality, and an EPS. And then it's just like, it's just beautiful how like they all come like all the files together. And then like I try to just, I organize them by the folders to give it to my clients.
It's very cool.
So can I ask a question? So the EPS files that you export, those can be opened in Illustrator?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can show you right now here.
And what about, can you export as a PDF and can that be opened in Illustrator? Or is that that's Adobe? So probably not.
You can also export as a PDF and it will open in Illustrator.
Oh, okay.
This is specific brand. So I have here all the, like after I organize all the files, here are all the exported files. So I'll show you how I can open it in Illustrator. I also think it's faster. So here it is, the EPS. And like if I would have created something in here, so let's say this, I'm creating a logo. Get into outlines. I can also bring it in Affinity Designer. So I'm just gonna, I'll bring it to the, it comes in like as a vector still, like, so it talks to each other. I've never tried making it as a PSD because I don't like working on raster, like, but yeah, like it's really cool. Like, I mean, sometimes when I first started, like I would still like do some things in Illustrator because I didn't know yet how to do it in Affinity. But once I learned how to do an Affinity, like every time I just start just coming, staying here. And I'm really excited to teach others about it because, again, like I think like the price reason, it's very big. I'm happy that like democratize design software, right? Like it doesn't have to be Adobe or nothing or crap, I don't know, like, so that's my, one of my favorite things about this software. Are there any other questions that you might have about Affinity Designer? So I have, let me find it here. I'll add it in the chat.
I just have like a little comment about a job that I just did.
Of course,
And
yeah.
it was a brand with many parts and pieces. So I think I might use it right away because I haven't saved all and I passed the files along to a web design company because they're building the website. But I really just gave them the packaged Illustrator file because I'm like, I don't want to save all this stuff. And I don't think they needed it because they're a design firm too, and they're probably working in Illustrator, and they said it was fine. But I just had that, I'm like, oh my God, there's all these parts and pieces, and I don't want to save them in all these different formats.
I mean, like the worst thing, like the production part, like it's
yeah, it's a pain.
And before artboards existed, like you have to rename the files themselves.
Yeah,
like, it's even more like, I don't know. First, like, I don't know. I just don't like it. So what I like is like you just do the work beforehand, making sure like whenever I do a misspelling, I'm like, oh my goodness, like especially when I have already like organized the files in their folders. But just like if I make a mistake, then like I just uncheck the ones that they're fine, and then I just export exactly the ones that I want to replace.
Can you place, like I just did actually for Adobe, but so I had to give it to them in Illustrator. But so I was just doing a bunch of banner ads for Adobe, and I had to I did them in Illustrator because it's easy to set them all up and then name each artboard and, you know, export it. It's just very easy, but not as easy as this. But I also had to place photos in there. So can you place a photo and then export something if like, let's say the Inspired Life project, if they wanted a photo behind it, could you do that and then export it as well?
Yeah, totally. We can bring photos as well. So, now that you say the photos, I'm going to show you. It's really cool. Let me. So, well, I'm just going to make a new artboard. Like, I'm used to copy and pasting them and then just deleting everything inside. So I'm so glad you mentioned photos because I rarely use photos, but it's good that you asked. So here in the stock, so all this, all your tools and panels, they all live here on View Studio. So I guess not the tools, but the panels. All the panels live here. So they have images, and you can, they have Pexels and Pixabay, so that are free, right? So, so let's say they want some clouds. You already can search for the clouds in there, and then you just bring it in. This image approved by third party, yeah, you say yes. And you bring the photo here. instead of downloading from going like
The
to look
multiple
up
steps.
files.
Yeah.
Similar to like Adobe Stock, but free. So you can have this in here, and let's say Sharon wanted this that photo as a background. So I'm gonna copy that logo in there, and like all the controls are hidden in here. So I'm just to make sure it's centered. I like that it all like that the photo goes behind, and just like Illustrator, it has the same thing that you don't have to do the shift unless it group things. So let's say I love this, and then we go to layers. We just name it however I want, clouds. And if I'm ready to, like, for example, if I only want to export that thing, because I have all these other layers, well, I just like uncheck the other layers that I don't want to export. And then here.
I didn't get that.
Oh,
could you try again?
No, Siri's talking to me. Let's see. Let's say you want to give them PNG, a PDF for print.
Okay.
Sorry, it's going so fast. And what else do we want? We can even try the PSD. And the JPEG. So it's gonna, that's the only thing that I have selected. So it's gonna export one slice in all those 4 things. So I'm gonna make a folder in my desktop. Create, and I wanted to send it there. Export. Just exporting the files in there.
And these images in there is it like Canva where you know, they have all these images loaded, you're allowed to use them?
I wonder if it, because of the PSD, that it's taking longer, because it really doesn't take this long when I do like just PNGs and EPSs. But I'll take it rather than saving them. Let me find all these. So here it is. We have all the files. We have a JPEG, and then, well, they're going to look the same. But it's a PDF, the PNG, and the PSD. So let's try, if I open the, I'm curious to see if I open the yeah, so I opened the PDF in Illustrator, and it still gives me the vector and the logo in there. I'm curious about the Photoshop one, because I've never done Photoshop. So it shows in there. But I guess it's all a raster, like it's just an image. Oh, no. I'm really bad with Photoshop. So let's see. Oh, so there it is. So the logo came as layer 30. So yeah, that's how it shows in Photoshop. I had never tried that before.
That's impressive.
So I mean, I think this is just really, really cool to have all to be able to export different files at the same time. Are there any other questions? This is really cool about the images. I'm so glad you brought it up, Nancy, because I rarely use images and I forget about this capability that it talks to Pixabay and Pexels.
Go ahead, Amy.
Just about the
I was going to mention something else about that I like about here.
Karla, are you hearing us? Karla, are you hearing us?
Studio characters.
I don't think she hears us.
Right.
No, I'm not. Oh, hold a second. No. Can you someone speak and see?
Can you hear us now? Now?
No. Something happened with my Mac.
Oh no.
I cannot hear anyone.
Amy, why don't you type it into the chat?
Yes. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm a slow typer.
Okay.
Can you hear now?
I'm hearing you from Ingrid's computer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to ask, this is kind of going back, but once you pay for the software, like when they do you have to like pay to do the updates, or how does that work?
It just gives you a pop-up that like upgraded, like updated, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
The updates are free. I don't know what happened with my audio. So I was in the chat. I added a link. Oh, now it's your message. Let's see. Sorry, it's really bad. Let me try again. Let's try. Huh. Entonces, huh. Can you hear me? But why? Oh, pero quítale el volumen al. But I don't think I can hear you. Let's see. I don't know what happened with the audio. So I guess we can use the chat because then it sounds really bad. I don't know why I cannot hear you anymore. It happens sometimes in my Mac. But before I finish, I was good. Okay, yeah, let's use the chat. So what I was gonna mention, like in the chat, I added a link in there. Thank you for being here with me today. It takes you to this page in my website. Because of Nancy's great marketing efforts, through LinkedIn, they contact me because someone who works with this guy, Kevin House, who wrote this book about Affinity Designer. If you go more through the book and would like to just see all the capabilities, they approached to me, giving me a free ebook for all of you. Wow. So if you go through the link, it's gonna take you to my drive where you can see the whole book about Affinity Designer and just like learn about it. And maybe just like go maybe to table of contents and see like something that you want to learn specifically. So that was really nice of them. I also, Affinity Designer has given me a 30-day trial. I believe they're back to 15 days. So you can use my trial code that they gave me if you want to try the software for 30 days instead of the 15. And I even think that you can do my 30 and then you can do your 15. So I have here a link to for easy access of just downloading the software. I use this for my students just for easy access to go and download the latest version of Affinity. But yeah, thank you so much for being here with me and letting me show you my love for this software. I felt so proud at some point, like, oh, I don't need Adobe anymore. But like, really, it's still the industry standard. So I was approached by my previous employer, Discovery, and they wanted logos done specifically with Adobe typekit fonts. So I'm like, I need to get Adobe back again. I was always hesitant. I'm like, I don't want a contract. I don't want to be like paying month to month. But it is what it is. How long it took me to not much, Amy. Like really, like Ingrid, like just start playing with it, and like you're always a Google away from like, how do you do this? And then you find a forum like it tells you how to do it. So once you're there, you'll feel like it's very, very intuitive. Like no one taught me, but now you have the book. If you want to learn from the book, I just learned it by playing with it and figure it out. Yes, I use ancient Illustrator too, like for so long until I was like, because I had it in my computer, but then I bought the Mac. I'm like, I'm just gonna use Affinity. Yeah, exactly. You're always a Google away. Yeah, I think like Affinity might have a sale as well if you want to hold into that. So maybe just try the 30-day trial and then do your 15 and then wait Black Friday. They always have good deals. I also use Publisher. I rarely use Photo, as I rarely use Photoshop as well. But Publisher is great too. I love Publisher as well. Like so this is where I did my presentation. It's very similar to InDesign. What? Give me a second, please. In English.
Actually, you can all hear me, right, Amy? Okay, so if anyone has any more questions, why don't you put them in the chat?
This is such a bummer that it doesn't work. Do you want to share something, Ingrid?
Yeah, that when I start studying in career in the university, they told us that we need to buy a computer with specific things like RAM and memory. So Illustrator takes a lot of space in the memory of the laptop. And in Affinity, it's like half of the space or less. So that's why it runs quickly, more quickly.
Oh, that's why it quits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also that Adobe, now that it's been updated, that it takes more space than 2 years ago or 4 years ago. Affinity is like
way lighter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that because Ingrid's like very knowledgeable about like space and things. But yeah, she wrote a note here like Affinity it asks for 2 gigabytes and they recommend 4, and Adobe it's 8 gigabytes and recommend 16. Of course, Nancy, what's your question? I'm sorry, I cannot hear.
Okay.
Sometimes like before it used to be like my fat finger that will cancel the volume, but now I'm like, it's not my fault. What is your question, Nancy?
I'm trying to put it in. Overall change of colors.
In Illustrator, if I want to do an overall change of color.
Yeah, I can select change colors and use something from my palette, and it searches the art and changes it everywhere.
I can select change colors and use something from the palette, and I can select change colors and use something from my palette, and it searches the art and changes it everywhere.
Select all.
Is it to select all?
No.
Or is it a different thing?
Different.
So I've never used that. Okay. Like in Photoshop?
No, in InDesign. Cambias un color de la paleta, quitas uno y lo cambias por otro.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not sure, Nancy. Like, you mean like, I'm not sure about that. I know they do have the select same. So here, select same fill color, and we can do that. But I've never tried that new feature. So, but it might come up. Amy, also, if you go through Affinity's website, they do have some tutorials, like, and you can learn some things in there. Like I learned the Command J in there because I thought that like in Illustrator, I was so used to doing, I think like some sort of Shift Command D to duplicate. And I'm like, why I cannot do this? And then I look for a tutorial and like, it's like Command J. So like, there's some things that they are not exactly the same commands.
You can change them.
You can change what?
The
commands, okay. But no, but this is like the capability of what it can do, not just a command. I think so, especially if it's not a tool. But like there's tons of tutorials. Some links. Okay, perfect. So I'm so sorry I cannot hear you. And if I and if I can hear you, then it's gonna sound really bad through the other computer. But I appreciate all of you for being here. Don't forget the link in the chat. I'm gonna add it again just in case if it got lost in there. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Karla. Thanks everyone for attending.
There, just in case.
Yeah, thanks.
If you have any questions and want to follow up.
And Karla's also in
Thanks,
Slack.
everyone.